Mr. President,
The senator from New Jersey.
I rise to express my support for the nominations of Ambassador Nicholas Burns to be ambassador to China, Mr. Ramin Taloui to be an assistant secretary of state for economic and business affairs, and Mr. Rashad Hussain to be ambassador at large for international religious freedom. These are a superb group of highly qualified nominees, deserving of the positions for which they have been nominated, and I'll speak briefly about them. Ambassador Burns is an outstanding public servant, one of the nation's best, and I'm pleased to support his nomination as the next ambassador to China. He has a long and distinguished record in public service, including as Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs under the Bush administration and U.S. ambassador to NATO. If there's a place that we need an ambassador, it's China. We've spent so much time, both in committee, on the floor, hearing about the challenges of China, but we don't have a U.S. ambassador to help us meet those challenges. It's no secret that the China of today is challenging the United States and destabilizing the international community in almost every dimension of power, political, diplomatic, economic, military, and even cultural. That's why Ambassador Burns' experience and skills will be crucial as he confronts the monumental task ahead of him. I'm also pleased to be supporting Mr. Ramin Taloui nominations to be the Assistant Secretary for Economic and Business Affairs at the State Department. His experience and skill set, including as a former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for International Finance, where he represented the United States in forums like the G7, the G20, will be necessary in order to be an effective Assistant Secretary, especially one that will play such a critical role in our economic diplomacy vis-a-vis China, and as we must reinvigorate the instruments of our economic diplomacy at home. I believe Mr. Taloui represents the importance of getting our economic statecraft right. Lastly, I'm also pleased to support Mr. Rashad Hussain to be our ambassador at large for international religious freedom. Throughout his impressive public service, Mr. Hussain has demonstrated his strong commitment to protecting the rights of religious and ethnic minorities, including as the U.S. Special Envoy for Strategic Counterterrorism Communications, where he led efforts to counter anti-Semitism and protect Christian minorities in Muslim-majority countries. Religious freedom, like every human right, is universal, but for many people around the world, this right is out of reach and religious persecution is on the rise. That's why it's important that we confirm Mr. Hussain. While it's positive news that we're confirming these three nominees today and a few more, I hope, in the next day, I am deeply concerned that we have more than 50 nominees that will remain pending on the Senate floor, having passed the committee, almost all of them by strong bipartisan votes that are subject to delays and obstacles. We are less safe when our national security agencies are so short-staffed. We owe it to the American people to fix this problem so that we can be represented abroad. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.
The senator from Idaho.